one. Okay, sorry about that, YouTube. It's a little bit technical difficulty with Zoom, but we right back at it. So pick up where you left off, brother Wacc.
Okay. They had they jumped me at the white boys. They jumped me in the home. Well, they jumped me and the homie happened to be out of his cell. The Samoan homie happened to be out the cell, and you know, he did what was in his heart. You know what I'm saying? And I got nothing but forever love for him. You know what I'm saying? He knows who he is. I don't know where he's at right now, so I ain't gonna mention his name. But you know what I mean? He's a stand-up Crip Samoan, you know what I'm saying, out of Long Beach. And you know what I mean, he got cracking like eggshells, you know what I'm saying, when he really he didn't have to. Because you know what I mean? But anyways, so what happened was they hem us all up, whatever, you know what I mean, take us up out of there. Well, 2 days later, the homies took off. And what happened was that it was so vicious that we had just opened that yard up to be 270 level 4, right? And I'm talking about we had just opened it for it to be that, right? And because of that following riot, they closed that 270 down and they shipped all of us up out of there again. They took that whole yard out.
Okay. So that was the Crips moving on the woods on that riot.
That was the blacks.
The blacks, all the blacks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, you know, there's always going to be consequences for your actions, just like with anything in life. Now, I've also had it to where just the homies responded, right? The Crips. But most of the time on level 4s, the Crip and Blood thing kind of like it's still there. Because it's always going to be there. You know, tribalism is always going to be there, right? But once you get up on them 4 yards, on them 270s, it really comes down to race. You know what I'm saying? So like if you know the Bloods get in, you know, if it's another race, everybody's going. You know what I'm saying? So if the Bloods get into it with the Woods, everybody's getting in. You know, all the blacks are getting into it with the Woods. You know, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's not going to be just the skinheads getting into it with the blacks. You know, it's going to be all the Woods. You know, even the ones that are just regular Woods that are, you know, they're not skinheads, they're not bikers, they're not, you know, P9 or whatever, any of them groups. You know, they're just regular white boys. But they have to participate too because, you know, it's a racial conflict.
Okay. Now, do you get any war stories like where, because a lot of times it seems that, I don't know, I guess when some people tell it, the blacks usually are reactive more so than proactive. You have any stories where like you and the Crips, y'all took off first?
On any, can it be on anybody or does it have to be another race?
It could be anybody, it could be another race.
Okay, yeah. So okay. So yes and no, that's true. It's partly true. And it used to make me mad thinking about it and even talking about it. But there is some truth to that. Okay. A lot of times, here, let me just throw this out there to you. in Lancaster, the homies got took off on by the Southsiders.
Mm-hmm.
And the Southsiders really did their thing. They they life flighted matter of fact, a homie from East Coast Crip, they life flighted him up out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was gonna be, it was supposed to be something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so motherfuckers were like, fuck it, we taking off on the Mexicans over here, you know what I'm saying? And when it came down to crunch time, the East Coast didn't, the East Coast car didn't want to, they didn't want to take off.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, but then I've also been to where, like, the San Diego, we got our own Crip, we got our own car, the San Diego Crip car. We got into it with the Hoovers, and we took off. My boys didn't even argue. We just, you know what I mean? Hey man, we come out, we come out tomorrow for yard, homie. Everybody meet up at the spot, and then we finna bank a lap. You know what I mean? Half go this way, half go that way. You know what I'm saying? When we get over there where the Hoovers are, we take it off.
Okay.
And you know what I'm saying? Next day, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And in them situations, you don't want to make it obvious.
Mm.
So you don't you don't want to really make it obvious. You know what I mean? But we kind of like packed up all our shit that night just in case if we got took to the hole. You know what I mean? So you kind of like got, got all your important shit together. You know what I'm saying? So when the police came to roll your shit up, you know what I'm saying? You're not, your shit's basically, in order, right?
Okay. Now let me ask you this: why do you think the East Coast? Because I have heard East Coast Chris, they was known for taking off on guards and stuff like that. So why do you? I mean, I know you can't speak for the ECCs, but just your opinion. Why do you think they didn't want to get into it that day?
Um, a couple different reasons. That yard that we were on was literally like the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Motherfuckers were making money hand over fist,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't doing mail. There was so much money on that yard that motherfuckers weren't even doing mail outs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Motherfuckers were paying cash money for their shit. So you had dudes that were sending out thousands of dollars in cash to their people instead of having to wait on a mail out. If you understand what a mail out is. So a mail out is like, if say you're getting some dope from me, either, you're getting some dope from me. So I give you an address of where to send the money to, right? And so either you get it pulled off your trust account, the money that you have, and you have it sent to that address, or you have your people send it to that address, or whatever, right? And so that takes, that can take some time. You know what I mean? For the transaction to be completed, right? So on that yard, there was so much dope and money that motherfuckers had cash. And so what it is like, you'd give me $1,000 and I would turn around and take that out to visiting on Sunday and give it to my people. And then, you know what I mean? And then there you go. I'm already, you know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So you're not having to wait on anybody else. You're getting paid, COD, you know what I'm saying? Cash on delivery. You know what I'm saying? And so that was going on. And on that yard, to the best of my knowledge, that was probably one of the only times that I've ever been on a yard where the East Coasters weren't the deepest or one of the deepest cars on that yard. I think there might have been, trying to think, because the homie Trub from Wacc Duce East Coast, was Shelly's with my homeboy from Dago. So who's there? Tiger. There might have been like on that whole yard, there might have been 6, no, maybe like 8 of them, probably like 8 East Coasters on that yard. When usually you go to a yard and there's East Coaster, man, they got, because I mean they got so many different hoods, you know what I mean? I mean, they got, the 6-pack, which is like 6 Deuce, 6-9, 6-6. You got First Street East Coast, you got East Coast and Stockton, you got East Coast and Riverside, you got 9-8, 8-9. I mean, there's so many, so many different 11-8. You got so many East Coasters, so they're usually well represented. And like you said, it's true what you said. They're known for, what I mean, like putting it down. Matter of fact, I don't know if you've heard the story, but it was the East Coast Crips that ran up in the program office in Calipat in '95
Yeah,
and just started stabbing the police.
right.
And so, yeah, them being short on the yard, that was probably a factor. Definitely the money that was on that yard. And just the individuals that were on that yard.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, um, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm not trying to toot the San Diego Crip Cars horn. I mean, we were one of the deepest on it. That when I was in Lancaster on that yard, that was the deepest San Diego Crip Car that I've ever been a part of. We were like I said, we were one of the deepest cars, and that usually never happens unless you're at Donovan, which is in our backyard. But outside of Donovan, you know what I mean, we're usually not one of the deepest cars. But in Lancaster we were. It was us and the Compton Crips. Were the 2 deepest Crip cars on the yard, and there was like 20 of us. You know what I'm saying? But we came out that morning ready to roll. You know what I mean? I think I told you the story that I had a Christian homeboy. He was from Oceanside, San Diego, Deep Valley Crip. The homie T-Dog, and he had became a Christian. You know what I mean? And but was still in good standing with the homies. You know what I'm saying? And he even came to the yard that day with his Bible in one pocket and a knife in the other. You feel me? And was ready to go. You know what I mean? And it just didn't. It just didn't materialize. You know what I'm saying?
So when
And
something like that happens, does that make them look weaker in the long run? Like, okay, we stabbed one of them, they didn't retaliate. Now we can push further against them.
yeah and no. I mean, because eventually, okay, so everybody knows, right? Like on a lot, like, okay, so say if the whites take off on the blacks, say we're on A yard in High Desert, or no, A yard, I think no. Say we're on C yard in we're C upper in High Desert. High Desert, C and D yard have lower yard and an upper yard. So there's C upper, C lower, D upper, D lower, right? So I was on C upper. Okay. And all that means is there on that yard, there's a big ass concrete wall that separates the lower part of the yard and the upper part of the yard, right? And they do that just to, cut the inmates in half so they're not all together. You know what I'm saying? Right? So we're on C upper and the white boys take off on us, right? So what usually happens is when we come off a lockdown, the blacks are supposed to take off right then and there, right? It don't matter what anybody says. You feel me? Like, ain't no apologies. They know oh, that was not saying that the white boys, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no, no, it's on and cracking. You feel me? So the blacks, so they come off lockdown, the blacks take off on the white boys. Now is when it gets tricky. Are the white boys gonna say, okay, we're even now? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's try to, you know, let's try to come to the table and have, you know what I'm saying? Try to get it so we can get back out there and get yard and canteen and get our packages and our visits and shit again, right? Because what it becomes is it becomes a war of attrition, really, because you got the whites ain't going to the store, the blacks aren't going to the store. We're all on lockdown. So whatever me and you are sellies, right? And say my people don't look out for me, so I don't have anybody sending me any money, right? So I basically just live off the welfare and the goodness of the homies that surround me, right? But you go to the store, but eventually that store is gonna run out, right? And man, it's hard as a motherfucker to live off them 3 meals they give you, you know what I'm saying, and state food. You know what I'm saying? And then tobacco, that's when smoking was still allowed, right? So tobacco, coffee, most importantly, your hygiene item, your cosmetics, your hygiene items, your toothpaste, your soap, deodorant, lotion, etc., and so forth, right? So it becomes a war of attrition. So eventually, you know what I'm saying, hopefully, you know what I'm saying, okay, we got our get back, you know what I'm saying, and that's it. But then there's some motherfuckers that like, fuck no, we ain't taking that. We taking off again too. And it just keeps going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't, yeah, it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all though for anybody to get taken off on and not retaliate. You know what I'm saying? Because then, motherfuckers do, because we were talking about them. Like, man, these motherfuckers, you know what I mean? Like, come on, homie, you know what I'm saying? But then it was like, that was your homeboy that was life flighted up out of here. You know what I'm saying? We only came outside ready to rumble because it was a Crip, but most importantly, it was a black. And so we ready to go to war. But can't nobody help you until you're willing to help yourself. And so if you're not willing to help yourself, then what can we do?
Right.
Now, it would be different if we was over there physically when it happened, whether they fought back or not. You know what I'm saying? You're not just going to jump on a black and nothing happens. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
But since we're on a whole nother yard, and these aren't the Southsiders that did it that are over here, you know what I'm saying? But we were willing to, every black car on that yard was willing to make that sacrifice and take off on the Southsiders because they had took off on the homies on B yard.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Wow, politics is some real intricate, a lot of levels, a lot of layers to those prison politics. Wow.
There is a lot of, there is, and that's why, honestly, homie, the politics are, I know you've heard about this 50-50 yard, these non-programming yards, programming yards, and all that, right? And I hate to say it, but I did. I was on a live at work the other night, sitting there bored as fuck, and I talked about it a little bit. But in my opinion, the inmates, first of all, no inmate wants to call himself an inmate. We all try to say we're convicts, right? But anyways, the inmates, we brought it upon all this change, this 50-50 yard shit, these programmed yards, non-programmed yards. We brought it on ourselves.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you why. It's a long spiel, but I'll cut it short for you. I'll put it in a nutshell for you. I came to prison in 1997. I want to say October 1st or maybe September 30th of 97. There was one throughout CDC. I think at that time there was only 32 prisons. I think there's like 36 now or something. Throughout CDC, them 32 prisons, there was only one PC yard throughout the whole system. One PC yard. By the time I paroled in May of 2004, 7 years later, there was a PC yard at every prison. And the reason being is in that stretch of 7 years, so many dudes were locking it up. And a lot of them dudes locked it up over nothing. Over a $10 drug debt, bad calls, bad politics. Oh man, that dude was out there visiting and my wife was fucking looking at his dick. Yeah, let's get him off the yard. Shit like that. Real shit, man. You know what I mean? And so what happened is you get all these dudes on these PC yards, right? And they haven't got the gangbanging mentality or the system. I mean, the gangbanging mentality out of their mind, right? Out of their system, right? So they go over to fucking the sensitive needs yard, the PC yard, around a bunch of fucking chomos and rapists and shit. And what do? They start making their own fucking prison gangs. And then, then the violence kicks up over there to the point of where it was on some people's account, it got worse over there than it did on the main lines. So now the administration was like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? And so they were like, okay, we got to do something to stop this shit. So what happened is they said, fuck it. You know what? And about this time, the federal court system started forcing California into releasing dudes that had life sentences, up to life sentences. You know, because you have a 15 years to life, 25 years to life, 30 to life, that doesn't mean you have a life sentence. That means you have up to life, 25 to life, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to have to do life. But California, if you had a 2 life sentence, you had a life sentence. They weren't letting none of them dudes go. So that somebody sued CDC, which was the right thing to do. And the federal government said, motherfuckers, you're going to start releasing some of these dudes that deserve to be released, or we're going to come in and we're going to shut you motherfuckers down. And so CDC was like, okay, well, you know what? Let's do it like this. Let's create these 50-50 yards, these program yards, these non-designated program yards. And if these lifers are serious about getting out, then they're going to walk away from their gang and go over there to that fucking program yard. And if they don't, we're going to ask them, well, why don't you want to go to that program yard? Oh, because I can't be around them people. Well, you know what? You're not suitable for parole then, because there's all kinds of people out there on the streets. So if you can't be around a certain amount of people in here, you're definitely not going to be able to make it on the streets. There it is there in a nutshell.
Okay.
Makes sense though, right?
Yeah, it makes a perfect sense. Okay. Wow. So in the time we got left, do you have a war story on where the Crips or the blacks in general made a move on the Southsiders, put in work on them?
Yeah. I never was anywhere where we took off on the Southsiders.
Mm.
I was in a prison where the homies, uh, three Crips, where were they from? I want to say they were from Watts or maybe Compton. Anyways, uh, they worked on another yard. They worked in the kitchen, uh, and somehow shit had been going on in the kitchen. Usually it's like this, man. When you work in the kitchen, you got all different races working, right? But you kind of like try to keep everything as civil and as cordial as possible. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, keep shit smooth. You know what I'm saying? And and a lot of times you'll become cool with um, you know, the dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll be cool. Not saying that you're gonna sit there and fucking drink or eat after each other or fucking sing kumbaya and hold hands. But like you'll be cool though, you know what I'm saying? Like, but anyways, I guess over there they have been having problems because everybody, a lot of people that work in the kitchen, they hustle out of the kitchen, they sell ice, they meat or chicken or whatever. And you got to realize too that so all the races do that, right? So everything that is stolen, right, has to be divided up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the blacks just can't steal all the meat and expect the white boys and the Mexicans not to say anything.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be fucking a fucking glutton, bro. You know what I mean? Like, let's make it beneficial to all. You know what I'm saying? So I guess they've been getting into it, not really getting into it, but it was kind of like, there was tension in there. I'll just put it like that. And then one day, you know what I'm saying? They came to work, went to work or whatever. And I guess the homie said something to the Mexican, like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, hey, homie, you know what I'm saying? Like, we trying to keep it cool, you know what I'm saying? But if you wanna take it there, homie, you can come get down with me right here in the mock cat. So the Mexican, the story I get, the Mexican got put on the spot and turned like red and didn't do nothing. And his homies were like, nah, fuck that, homie. That's embarrassing. You better go handle that. And the dude was like, so one of the other assays was like, fuck it. Hey, homie, let's me and you get out. And so the brother was like, well, let's go. Well, he took him in the mop cap and knocked the boy out and came out and was like, man, hey, come get your homeboy. You know what I'm saying? So next thing you know, it just turned into a whole little fucking skirmish within the main kitchen. Okay. And so that kind of like sent a little bit of shockwaves through the prison. But by the time, and then that put us on lockdown. But what had happened was when we were on lockdown, they were already in the process of flipping two of the yards. Mm-hmm. So while we were on lockdown and they were doing the yard flips, that basically filtered everybody off that yard to where there wasn't too many of them left over when the lockdown was lifted. Okay. So it didn't kind of like carry on. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. But yeah, the homie, they say the homies were in there serving them dudes though.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess, long story short, as we get ready to wind down, from your experience, I mean, when push comes to shove, the blacks will do their things. Let me take that back. This is kind of what I've heard sometimes. And I'm asking you because you're an outsider, but an insider at the same time. So you're in a very unique position to be a judge of this. I often heard that when it comes to blacks, they're a lot of times they're too busy fighting amongst each other, or they're so many different divisions. It's hard for them to come together to make a collective fighting force. So therefore, sometimes when they're attacked, they're so divided. It's hard to come together to say, okay, let's mount a counterattack against the enemy. It's not so much that they're scared of the South Side or scared of the whites. It's more their internal politics that keep them from being as effective as they should be, or as effective as they could be.
So you can say that to an extent, but what I will say is that I've never been on a yard where it was like the inner skirmishes amongst the different cars was so bad that a racial incident took place and motherfuckers didn't want to participate.
Okay.
I've never experienced that.
Okay.
You know, a lot of Mexicans will say that. They'll be like, man, the blacks, they fight amongst each other. They'll never have no loyalty. Some of the whites will say that, but nah, you're not going to take off on a black dude and stab a black dude or whatever, and nothing's going to happen. Nah, not happening.
Okay. Okay. That's what I wanted to clear it up, because you hear a lot of
Now,
these stories.
now, there is the other side of the token to that, right? Or the same side, just a footnote to that. There is a lot of tribalism within the black car, right? And so a lot of times there will be that tension. But like I said, the higher in levels that you go up, a lot of that goes out the window because you know where you're at. We know what's at stake. This is where the big boys play. So all that unnecessary bullshit, like, oh, I ain't fucking with that nigga because he a blood, or I ain't fucking with that nigga because he a Crip, or that nigga from the Bay, or whatever. Nah, ain't none of that. None of that. None of that.
Okay.
You will be checked immediately by your own people. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
The thing is this, bro. Blacks, and I include myself into this because I'm an honorary member. That's what they tell me. Yeah. We're so strong-minded, right? And independent that sometimes it has a negative impact.
Right.
But don't believe for a minute that a Mexican or a white or any other can just walk up to a black dude and just take off on him, stab him or whatever, and there ain't gonna be no consequences.
Okay. Okay.
Not happening.
Right. So the blacks will put it down.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell motherfucking yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Man.
Right.
Most definitely,
man,
bro.
Well, thanks for clearing that up. But man, Wacc, this has been really informative. You opened my eyes as usual. Shed a lot of light and say some good politics here. So, in closing, any more jewels you want to drop on the people in closing?
Nah, just at the end of the day, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, right? We were all born to die. We all come with an expiration date. We're not part of that. As hard as we try, as many Maybachs that we can get, as many houses we can get, Rolex watches, Stacy Adams, fur coats, all that. As many as of those that we can acquire, we will never be a part of the 1%, right? And that goes for whites, Mexicans, whatever, right? We got to understand that divide and conquer is really a real thing, right? All this shit in the world, man, you got the war going on in Ukraine, COVID, gas prices, whatever. Now Biden's talking about there's going to be a food shortage that's going to reach over here. Well, we got all this shit going on. There's gotta be some semblance of togetherness amongst the people. It really, in my heart, I believe, and I know it, that African proverb that it says, it takes a village to raise a child, right? I know that wholeheartedly to be true. You know, we need to learn how to get past these elementary mindsets that we have about other people, other races, other creeds, religions. You know, we should embrace the differences rather than oppose them. You know, I love experiencing other cultures. You know, to me, it just makes me feel more at peace with the earth. You know what I'm saying? Technology, you know, these kids, man, YouTube can't be your kid's parent. Instagram can't teach your kid. You know, we all got to do better, man, because I really stress about the world that we're leaving our children. You know what I'm saying? And I just, you know, I hear the stories about these kids dying or we're getting shot, gang banging. I'm like, damn, it's 2022. We got to do better, man. We have to do better. We have to. And, you know, my biggest aspiration is to be able to go around and speak to at-risk people that are on that borderline, right? That are right there sitting on that. Either they're going to go one way or they're going to go the other. And I want to give it to them raw and let them know you don't have to do that to be cool. You're not cool if you go to prison. You're not cool if you go to the county jail. You're not cool if you go to juvenile hall. You're not. That doesn't make you cool. That makes you a loser. You know what I mean? The winners are dudes like you that went to school, lived law-abiding life, went to college, got a degree, and now work in a professional work field, provides for your family, so on and so forth. That's the gangsters, bro. That's the gangsters. Now that's gangsters that take care of your family. Anybody can pick up a gun in a blue rag or a red rag or you know, anybody can do that. Anybody can. And so, you know, I've taken so much out of my community that I wanna put back into my community while I still have whatever time God has allowed me left to stay on this earth.
So can we look forward to the Wacc Duce memoirs or autobiography?
Yeah, I'm actually working on it, man. And honestly, I've gotten over like 350 pages written, honestly.
Okay.
I'm just really at the point now where I just need to give it to somebody. I need to give it to like an author or an editor, somebody that does that's really their job, not
Mm.
somebody that, they do, they're a mechanic, but then I need to
Right.
I need to get it in somebody's hands.
Okay.
Yeah, because I really believe that, that I do got a story to tell, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, most
And
definitely.
I want to, the story that's presented, I want it to be as accurate as possible, but yet I also want it to be worth your while if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on it as well, you know?
Okay. Well,
So,
there you have it. Anybody out there who's looking for a prison publish, no story to publish, you listen to this, get at Brother Wacc. How can people contact you, brother?
they can contact me on IG. It's W period Duce, Duce. Uh, Contact me on there on Instagram, and
Okay.
I will respond to you.
All right. And what's your YouTube handle?
Against the grain.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Anybody out there, hit this brother. Look, his story definitely needs to be in print. It needs to be on a big screen. Brother definitely got a story to tell. So, man, bro, I thank you again for taking time out your busy day on your day off to come holler at me. I know it's kind of tough bringing back some of that violence you saw. So, I appreciate you pushing through that to get the audience the real deal about what goes on behind the walls. I can't thank you enough, brother. It's been a real
No,
pleasure.
no thanks needed, man. It's my pleasure, and I look forward to for us getting together. And I want to, like I told you last time, I want to. I actually want to delve off into some of that Chicago
Oh yeah,
stuff that you guys got going on up there. That's so unfortunate. But
yeah.
I
I guess.
also believe that we can learn a lot from it, though.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely gonna have some of that stuff coming. Definitely.
Well, I appreciate you, man, and you go ahead and have a good night.
Uh,
Enjoy your night. God bless you and your family, man.
All right, you too, brother. Take care. All
Bye
right,
bye.
YouTube.
Peace
It's
out.
been another edition of the Concrete and Steel Chronicles. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time, YouTube.